Many, many miles east of nowhere lies the amazing land of Oz, a magnificent empire created in the mind of a man who wrote a great book about it. Like wildfire in the wheat field, the fabulous tale of the Wizard of Oz spread from town to city, to nation, to the entire world.
Somewhere over the rainbow there were two reviewers. Happy Easter week, and welcome to the Damien and Devlin Show and our look at The Wizard of Oz, the 1939 film directed by Victor Fleming, starring Judy Garland, Ray Bolger, I'm sorry, you're singing, threw me off course here, Jack Haley, Burt Lahr, and Margaret Hamilton. And I chose this movie because this was a movie that we used to see a lot in Easter weekend. And if you weren't into big biblical films like the Ten Commandments, you would watch The Wizard of Oz. So I thought it would be a perfect one for Easter weekend, and it's one of my feel-good films. And I was intrigued what Damien would think because of the fact that he told me when I brought up The Wizard of Oz that I hate it, was the words he used. Let's hope his singing means that he may have changed his mind, but the fact that this was the first movie he took notes on, I have a feeling we might still be in for somebody who's not the biggest fan. What are your thoughts?
We're going to get to these. We're going to get to these. There's a whole half a page here, notes. So anyways, I hadn't seen this movie since, I think I said I was 7 years old.
That's what you said, yeah.
And that was when I'd seen it in its entirety. Of course, I've seen it on TV every so often, and of course, like, how could you not know about The Wizard of Oz? Like, it just has so much cultural impact with, like, the sayings, the songs. So, of course, I knew about it at the very least, and my mind couldn't really recollect the movie in its entirety. I could pick the tiniest of pieces here and there. So I was interested at the very least to revisit it, even though I do know from my childhood that I absolutely despised this thing. I thought it was the most boring, ridiculous contraption that I'd ever seen on film. So 20 years later, now that I've actually seen it with an adult mind, I have a few interesting thoughts about it. Overall, I have to process it. It's
all right. You process it, and I'll tell them a little more information. Okay.
I gotta review my notes.
All right. He's going to review his notes, and I respect Damien for saying, because he told me he downright did not like this movie. But when I mentioned I wanted to do it, he said, "Yeah, I actually kind of want to do it." And I respect that he took this journey with me because of the fact that he just was interested to see where his head would be at this. Now, for those of you who don't know, it's a simple story. Dorothy Gale, who lives in Kansas, gets sucked up in a twister, and she's taken to a wonderful, magical place called Oz, where witches are constantly fighting, and basically she accidentally kills a witch, and she goes on a quest in order to find her way home, where she meets enemies, friends, and lots of magical supernatural things. It's based on a series of books. This movie was made in '39. It was considered a technical breakthrough, but the movie still didn't do very well at the box office. This movie became popular after years of it shown on TV and re-releases, and now it's probably one of the most beloved movies of all time. But when it first came out, a lot of people were kind of not sure about it because they had not seen anything like this. Now, I surprised you to say that there's actually an earlier version which is silent.
I have no idea.
It's very creepy looking.
I have no idea.
It's very creepy looking. But this movie is still talked about today, and I think there's a reason for it, because there's a lot of old movies that don't get talked about a lot, but The Wizard of Oz, you can go into any memorabilia place and you'll see images of it because it's such a powerful film. And it's not just a powerful kids film, it sticks with you. It's a family film. I was also telling you that for many kids, like for me, it introduced us to a lot of supernatural elements that we don't get to see too often. Witches, talking lions, flying monkeys. Like, I know people who are creeped out by the flying monkeys. I know that freaked you out, that you thought somebody could be scared of that. But we were very naive back then, and it was that naivety that keeps The Wizard of Oz so amazing. And there's a reason it's a perennial classic. Have you processed anything?
I've processed a few things, yes.
To your positives? Are you ready for that?
Okay, I actually do have a positive written down here.
Well, one positive and all negatives. Sweet.
I have one positive written down here. One thing that truly, truly did impress me about this movie was Scarecrow's makeup. Scarecrow's makeup was excellent because what I could remember as a kid was this guy wearing a bag over his head with like a cutout for his face. That's what I could remember. Now the reality of it is, that's not what is going on at all. He's got makeup applied to it, so his whole face looks like it's naturally a bag, like I don't even know what kind of a bag that would be, like just like an old like seed bag or something.
Yeah, burlap sack.
A burlap sack. Yeah. That's basically it. The makeup on his Scarecrow is absolutely excellent, and it truly does look like he is a scarecrow at times. As well, I think he's got the best performance in the entire movie. Just the way that he moves, some of the lines that he says. There was actually an interaction between Scarecrow and Dorothy, and he goes, "Well, I don't have a brain." And I said it right as Dorothy said it. Like, how do you not have a brain? You can talk. And we both said it at the same time. And Scarecrow comes back with this excellent line. And I'm not going to say what the line is because it's just, you should experience it for yourself. And he goes, "Wow, political commentary." And I was like, absolutely it is. So I honestly think Scarecrow is the best character in this movie. He's fantastic, just the way the actor moves, some of his lines, and he's sometimes really funny. And just the whole makeup of him. I love Scarecrow. Scarecrow's the best in this movie. He's basically the only redeeming quality about this movie, in my opinion. You can shake your head all you want, but that's the only.
No, that's fine. I know you were busy watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff at this time.
I was not watching it at that time.
No, you have your, I respect your things. It's just it saddens me that you don't see any of the magic. Even at 7, you didn't see the magic of this.
So you talked about magic and you spurred my memory. There's the moment when Dorothy opens the door from her house after the tornado. So she still thinks she's in Kansas, but she opens the door and suddenly goes from black and white to color as Oz is revealed. That's cool. I like that. I even said to you, that's a cool effect because she literally opens the door and suddenly you're seeing color. And I personally thought that this was, I guess I fall under that common misconception, I thought this was the very first color movie of all time. And I'll admit, when you told me that it wasn't, it kind of reduced the magic of it for me in my mind. So I kind of wished it was, but it wasn't according to you. Do you know what it was?
No, I can't think of it offhand, but I think they were doing color before that.
Well, so I still think it's a cool effect, but it diminished the magic of it, in my opinion.
All right, I will talk about some positives because there is so many of them. First of all, this is a beautiful set. We don't appreciate movie sets anymore because everything has to look realistic. I think the fact that Oz is built up is, yes, you can see she can't walk down the road because she's going to hit a wall because it's all painted and stuff. But when you look at the artistry that went into this, like the amount of people that had to build the sets, the amount of people that put the costumes together, just Munchkinland alone, the costumes are just so intricate. They're like starched up. They've got little flowers on them. There's so much. The color, as much as I love movies today, there's something about Technicolor and the big old movies of the past where the colors almost look like they're hand painted. Like everything in this world is wonderful. I think Victor Fleming did an amazing job. Like he built all the sets. I think the special effects for the time, the twister, the actual like seeing the funnel and how they made it. It's so phenomenal that they could do effects like this. Now, of course, it could be all intricate. But you have to remember, in 1939, they didn't have movies that had special effects like this in every film. Now you watch every TV show and you might see great effects, better than this. But at the time, this was like high-tech stuff. I think the cast is really awesome. I think back then, yes, they did act a little more over the top, but movies were a getaway. It had to be realistic. Now if they remade this, they'd get probably rid of all the songs and it would be like a darker tone. I love that even when they go into darker things, and there is dark things in this movie, it's just they're played up, they're acting. And, Judy Garland gives a wonderful performance, You see her feelings when she's away from home and stuff. You feel the thing, and you see her build confidence because in Oz, she is a hero. I agree with you. Ray Bolger gives one of the best performances. I love Margaret Hamilton as the witch. I don't care if it's just green makeup. As a kid, that was what a witch was. It set the standards for what people think about witches and stuff.
Growing up, and even to this day, you'll see witches with the green skin and the pointed hats. That definitely does have to come from her. I will agree with you.
Yeah, and they drawings probably predated that, but just the neon green skin that she has and her performance, I love the way that they all have vocal abilities, like even the Munchkins, like they sing at a higher pace and stuff like that, and I know they were driving you crazy sometimes, but I loved that they all have, like, their performances aren't just trying to do an accent. Their performances were actually in the rollings of the tongue and the lion, just thing. I think this movie just has so much magic, and for many kids it's a dark movie when you first see it. It's just nowadays there's so much darkness out there. Like, people will put their kids in front of watching things and now they see more. But back then we would sit and watch Disney movies and then we'd have The Wizard of Oz. And a lot of things we got from The Wizard of Oz. And I can't say enough, this is one of my all-time favorite films. Yes, it's another biased review from me, but I love this movie. And when I get to my negatives, I don't have any, but I'm going to share you my philosophies of The Wizard of Oz. But right now we got about 20 minutes of negativity coming right now, so I'll let him take care of that.
So just going off of that, all of the positives that you had, basically, I have just about as much negatives. So half of these have to do with those Munchkins. Like, I was fine with the movie up until we got to Munchkinland. So, first of all, this isn't a negative, actually, and I'm throwing this out to you guys, for those of you that are familiar with Oz, because I asked him, and I really didn't get a clear answer on it, but where does the red road go? Because there's always, like, follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road. Where does the red brick road go? So, I was actually really curious about that, because it goes in a completely opposite direction. I'm sure it's explained in the books or maybe even the other movies that they've released. I don't know. But go ahead, tell me, because I'm really curious about that. But let's talk about the Lollipop Guild. There's a guild about lollipops? Why? I also have... So, this is a negative of mine, but I found it so funny. You laughed with me at this. They have this coroner go and check... He's got this certificate of death, and she's really most certainly dead. Like, what? Why? Okay, moving on. So most of these things, like I said, have to deal with these Munchkins. Yes, those voices drove me absolutely insane. I felt like I was watching Alvin and the Chipmunks sing me a song, for goodness sakes. And apparently Munchkin children hatch out of eggs, because when there's an overhead shot of these eggs, and they're ginormous. They're bigger than the Munchkins themselves, and there are Munchkin children popping out of them. Newly hatched Munchkins? Like, how does that even make sense? I fear for the Munchkin women giving or laying these eggs. So that I spent too much time thinking about that. I have to admit, we watched this on Blu-ray, so maybe it wasn't noticeable back in the day, maybe not even noticeable on VHS. But I could tell bald caps. Like you could tell on every single Munchkin that wasn't a woman basically had a bald cap on, and they had like special hairdos going all over the tops of their head. It was just so distracting to me to see these bald caps sticking out. And I guess that's the downfall of bringing a classic movie into 1080p, because it reveals mistakes like that because they weren't really focusing on that at the time. Let's talk about the acting of everybody. So you were absolutely correct. There's acting overall is just over the top, and it really distracted me. I couldn't take anybody in this film seriously, with Dorothy just so very bland and wooden, and I basically want to call it old Hollywood. Like, oh my god, like that's just so annoying to me. As well as, don't even get me started on that lion.
Yeah, don't get me started on that lion either. He tells me I hate everything about the lion. You remind me about the lion. How is that not supposed to break my heart?
No.
Yeah.
No.
All right, we'll move on.
I told you I love everything about you.
Yeah,
but I hate everything about that lion.
But I remind him about the lion. Moving on.
So,
who's next?
I'm not going to say anything because it's going to get me in trouble. The lion, like his acting, his singing, like I was trying to imitate him at the beginning of this review here. Like,
sounded more like Cher.
Just like, oh my gosh. I hated that lion, and his outfit is just absolutely awful. Like I could get that onesie at Walmart these days. That's how bad I feel it was. The Munchkins, going back to them, their laughter, I got creeped out by the laughter. Before the Munchkins are even introduced, there's like this laugh track of this noise, and it's supposed to be the Munchkins' laughter. It sent chills down my spine, I'm not gonna lie. Let's see here. Yeah. There was a point where they were running through a poppy field, and it started to snow. And I guess this is just because of the special effects capabilities at the time, but to me, it looked like dandruff falling from the sky, especially when it started covering the lion. It looked like he was shaking dandruff off of himself. And the worst thing of all was I counted
the lion.
4. Besides the lion, I counted 4 different horses that they literally dyed colors. It's supposed to be
the horse of different colors.
A horse of different colors, but considering it was 1939, animal rights really didn't matter back then. Let's just dye these 5 or 4 different horses.
Probably all died.
Purple. Like, who
but
cares?
they died for art.
Yeah, that makes it all worth it, right?
Hey, we're still watching those horses over 75 years later. Yeah, we don't know if they died.
I remember the horses better than I remember most of the actors' names in this. And that's, you know what, they made references to certain people alive at that time, I guess. I asked, like, who's Arthur Franklin?
Abraham Lincoln. You've never heard of Abraham Lincoln?
Of course I've heard of Abraham Lincoln.
Well, that's the one you asked.
He didn't say Abraham Lincoln, though. He said Arthur
I
Franklin.
could be another Lincoln.
Or Arthur Lincoln.
No, another Lincoln.
Is that what they said?
That is...
Oh, yeah.
I've seen this movie many times.
I believe you.
No, you don't. But thanks for that.
Don't throw words in my mouth. I could go on... But no, there were too many things. This is way too old of a movie for me to truly enjoy. Like, I'm still willing to give other old movies a shot, but this one just, as much as a cultural milestone that it is, that's fantastic, but it doesn't translate at all to 2018.
Yeah, we should just burn old movies and just get rid of them. But you know what?
There you go. Over dramatic acting.
No, there you go. Hey, I'm the lion, right? You don't have to be endeared to me. Anyhow, I have no negatives for this film because I saw this in a time when I believed in magic, and I still get that same feeling that I get when I was a little kid when I sat in front of it. The whole family would sit, we wouldn't all sit on our phones and watch something different. We would actually sit and watch this as a family, and it brings back those memories. And usually when I mention it, you can tell people it still melts their heart. Now, I don't have any negatives, but I want to quickly tell my philosophy, because I actually think The Wizard of Oz is something more to me. And you guys might think this is crazy, and that's okay. I've shared this on my podcast. I think Wizard of Oz is actually a metaphor for life. And and I'm going to share it with you because I think Dorothy starts off as an innocent. it black and white in Kansas, and basically that's her life. And then what happens is when she gets to Oz, life opens up to her. That's basically after high school for us. We move on. Then we're in this technicolor world that we believe everything is real, and we go on a journey. We search for brains, and that is our education. That's learning stuff, whether it be from schools or anything. We try to find a heart. That's us looking for the people that are going to give us something in life, our soulmates, the people that we meet. Courage, we're trying to find our self-confidence. We're trying to find all that. They all represent the people that we meet that help us find that, and they are people we call friends and family. I believe that when we get there, the witches are the things in life that are constantly battling you. They're the things that stand in your way. And I'm not just talking the bad witches. I still believe the theory. Look online for saying that Gilda is actually the real villain in this, because she puts Dorothy through hell. And the movie actually is even darker when the good witch actually puts her through hell, puts another witch after her. But anyhow, I think that's all the good and bad that you have to deal with in life. And I feel the wizard represents religion or spirituality, where we are searching for that constantly, and sometimes we find it and we believe it's this big giant head, and sometimes we analyze it and find the man behind the curtain, and we find that maybe spirituality is more than just from books and stuff. It's what we believe in, because we start questioning religion and stuff. And then we find our journey home, where we try to make sense of it all, and at the end of the day we come back to the innocence when we're old and on the verge of our life ending, that we basically see it goes back to that innocence, because in some ways when you become a senior you get that. And I don't know why I'm sharing that with you, but I once figured that out, and I think that's what I get from the Wizard of Oz. It's innocent, but I think this is a metaphor for life. And I might be over-analyzing it, but I will be, to my final day on Earth, say that Wizard of Oz is basically what we're all. It's the journey of life. And that golden brick road is the road we hope to find successes on. But when it comes down to it, we realize that in the end, that the home is all we were really looking for in the end. So I'm just sharing that because I don't have any negatives. Like, I could say things, like there's lots of things I could put down, but I refuse to, because of the fact that it holds up. Like, you might not think it holds up, but honestly, this is going to hold up longer than movies that people are endeared to now, and we'll still be talking about the Wizard of Oz long before some of these most beloved family films and stuff.
I'll take the hit of that. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's not a hit. I'm not trying to hit you with it. I call
this movie a cultural milestone, and I truly do believe that. By the way, that theory is absolutely beautiful. Now that I've seen this movie in its entirety, you're absolutely right, and I like that. It throws a new.
Yeah, I never shared that with you, but I've always believed that.
I like it.
I picked that up, obviously not when I was a kid, but when I was older.
Like it.
I remember, sorry, I won't interrupt you anymore, but the last thing I want to say is I've seen this many times. I've seen it on the big screen. I've seen it on little screens more. But one time when they re-released it in theaters, and they constantly bring it out every anniversary, I remember walking home after seeing this, and I said, one of the things in life I'm going to miss is some of the imagery in The Wizard of Oz. When she says goodbye to people, that is images I will miss in this world once I pass. And that, to say that about a movie, for me, is huge. Because it's not my favorite movie, but it certainly is in the top 5. And sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there.
That was completely fine. Again, this is one of those movies where, because I know it means so much to you, I'm going to feel guilty about this.
Don't feel guilty. You're allowed your opinions. And I appreciate that you watched it with me.
Of course. That's the whole journey that we take down that yellow brick road. But I have to, rating this movie, I can't even give it a 1. I have to give it half a point. I'm not going to give it a 0 because it wasn't complete trash, but I can't even give it a 1. I have to give it half a point on this. I did not enjoy it.
I'll give it a 5, and if you are a young person out there and are on Team Damien, please give it a try, because if we don't have movies like this, then yeah, I'll leave it at that. We need movies like this.
I'll say this to my fellow millennials, even younger than me, centennials. Definitely go out and experience things for yourself. Make up your own mind. You watch us, for sure. We have our own opinions on it, but we're different from you. We're definitely your friend, and we want you here with us, but we're different from you. One of the last freedoms that we have in this world is to make our own minds up about things, so definitely don't waste that opportunity while you still have it. As well, I wanted to say, there is a line, you love this line, and I love this line, and all I could think about was you. The wizard was actually saying, your heart is, and please tell me if I'm incorrect with quoting this, but your heart isn't measured by how much you loved, but how much you're loved by others.
Yes.
And all I could think about was you, because you are absolutely loved by so many people, including me. So as much as I can talk down about this movie and how much I did not like it, there are still things that redeem it, especially when I think about you. So keep that in mind.
Thank you.
That was The Wizard of Oz. Comment, do you agree with me? Do you agree with him? Or are you somewhere in between? Maybe you haven't even seen it. Let us know what you think. As well, subscribe so that you will always know what we're going to be doing next. If you like our hijinks, if you like our banter, if you like our sentimental moments like I just demonstrated, then you always want to be there every step of the way. Thank you very, very much for joining us. We love having you with us. We will see you down the end of that yellow brick road.